Thank you all so much for coming. This is our first event of this school year. My name is Barrett Berger, and I'm the director of the Center for the Advancement of Public Integrity, which we call CAPI, here at Columbia.
So Skelos, as Richard mentioned, was really about sort of a dad wanting to help his son. Even when the son was, in his 30s, Dean was helping him out and trying to get him jobs. And from Dean's perspective, he was just doing what he did, talking to his powerful friends who happened to be real estate developers and people like that. And he ended up getting his son, I guess, either a no-show or a low-show job, depending on your perspective, and getting various payments to help him out. So in the first Skelos trial, Dean did not take the stand, and in the second one, he testified. And he was really, really good. Like, he was, like, when I went to go hear him, it was like you kind of believed him. Like, you kind of believed, like, oh, there's this nice guy, and he just wants to help his son, and he's such a nice dad. I mean, he's doing things that are, like, pretty blatantly illegal, but you sort of felt it, and and at least being there, and knowing the jury are these regular people who are, I don't know, maybe sympathetic parents. I kind of wondered if maybe he would be successful, although ultimately he was not. So I think that was the major difference.
So one thing that was notable to me is the jury took a really long time when they were deliberating on the Percoco case.
I think sort of in general, without knowing what was going on in the jury room, I do feel like these cases are tricky for jurors. And I think part of that is because knowing what counts as a bribe and sort of whether there's, I mean, you were talking about this before, this sort of implicit or explicit agreement, and how much of this is sort of how government operates and how much is actually a bribe, because it's not so clear. So on the subject of these not being so direct, it's not just like handing someone something and getting money back. So Silver, he was just really, really powerful in state politics. He was speaker for 20 years from the Lower East Side. So he gave state grants to Dr. Taub, who's a mesothelioma researcher.
Of course, he couldn't literally give the state grant,
No,
but he could certainly
he
direct
does.
it.
That's true.
Right. The state actually has to give it. It's in the budget.
He used his power
Absolutely
to make
right.
sure
Right.
that these grants would get directed to Dr. Taub. And Dr. Taub would, because mesothelioma patients can sue, and can also, these cases can be worth a lot of money, referred patients to a particular law firm. And this law firm, Silver was associated with. In New York, we have a part-time legislature, meaning that you are in fact allowed to have other jobs on the side, and people do have other jobs on the side. And so Silver's other job was, I think he was of counsel at the firm, and it was unclear how much work he did, but he was associated with it. Anyway, so the referrals went to the firm, and then Silver did not work on these particular cases, but the firm then gave him $3 million total over the time of this case in referral fees. So it's not like Dr. Taub ever gave Silver any money directly. It was sort of this, I guess, workaround.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm never too optimistic of things happening in government in New York State, but you never know. But I think also there's sort of these other things at play here, and some of this is the culture of Albany, that sort of this has been the way things have worked for so long that I don't know if ethics reform, if that happens, can change culture. But I mean, I also think these are questions for voters.
Yeah.
And what we've seen, and what we saw with, I think, particularly Percoco, is I think people like reporter people and people in this world are sort of like, oh, this is so bad for Cuomo. But then at the end of the day, like in polls and with voters, like it just doesn't seem to stick. And people who went to the trial, like there's all this distasteful conduct and sort of clubbiness of this atmosphere inside the administration. But at the end of the day, like the guy did really well in the Democratic primary, and he's going to be governor again. And I think we see that in general. The voters may not care as much.